Social and philanthropic housing are two concepts that were created to provide affordable housing to people who cannot afford to buy or rent their own homes. Social housing refers to government-subsidized housing for low-income families, while philanthropic housing refers to housing that is built and managed by private organizations or individuals for the purpose of providing affordable housing. The origins of social housing can be traced back to the 19th century when rapid urbanization and industrialization led to a shortage of housing for the working class. The government responded to this need by building affordable housing for low-income families. This was seen as a way to improve the living conditions of the working class, reduce overcrowding and slum areas, and promote public health. Similarly, philanthropic housing emerged in the 19th century as a response to the housing crisis faced by low-income families. Wealthy individuals and organizations recognized the need for affordable housing and established foundations and organizations to build and manage housing projects. This was seen as a way to give back to the community and improve the living conditions of the less fortunate. Architects played a crucial role in the development of social and philanthropic housing, proposing utopian visions of housing that aimed to create healthy and harmonious communities that were functional, affordable, and aesthetically pleasing. They also incorporated innovative design features such as natural light, ventilation, and communal spaces that improved the quality of life for residents. One of the most famous architects associated with social housing is Le Corbusier. He designed the Unité de Habitation, a multi-family housing complex that was built in Marseille, France in 1952. The complex was designed to provide affordable housing to low-income families and incorporated features such as communal spaces and rooftop gardens. For philanthropic housing, one of the most notable and influential philanthropic housing projects is the Peabody Trust housing in London, designed by architect Henry Derbyshire. The Peabody Trust was founded in 1862 by American philanthropist George Peabody, with the goal of providing affordable housing for working-class residents of London. The Trust built several large housing developments throughout the city, including the Peabody Estate in Islington, which was completed in 1885 and remains one of the largest social housing developments in London. It consisted of several blocks of flats, arranged around a central courtyard, and provided affordable housing for working-class families in London. Over the years, the original intentions of social housing and philanthropic housing have changed. What was once a movement to provide affordable housing for those in need has now become more about profit than people. In many cases, developers build social and philanthropic housing with the sole purpose of generating profit, rather than creating affordable housing that is accessible to those in need. However, there are still some exceptions where the original ideals of these concepts are being followed and expanded on. An example of this is the Bauruppen model, initiated in 1994 in Germany, with expansion throughout numerous counties proving that this model of philanthropic housing is successful and effective. The Commons, a unique social housing project in Melbourne, Australia. The project is built on the concept of Bauruppen, a German model of cooperative housing where a group of people comes together to build and design their own homes. In this case, the Bauruppen model was used to create a sustainable, affordable and community-focused development for people who otherwise might have been unable to access housing in the competitive Melbourne property market. An example of a philanthropic non-profit architectural social housing project in Australia is the Commons development in Brunswick, Melbourne. The Commons was designed by Breathe Architecture, a Melbourne-based firm with a strong focus on sustainable and socially responsible design. Their vision was to create a building that is both beautiful and functional, with sustainable materials and energy-efficient systems that reduce environmental impact. Developed by Small Giants, a value-driven investment firm, the Commons is a non-for-profit project that was built with the idea of putting people and community at the heart of the design process. From the early stages, the future residents were involved in the design and decision-making process, which ensured that the final product was tailor-made to their specific needs and desires. The building is made up of 24 apartments and a communal rooftop garden, which provides a social space for residents to interact and form connections. Inside, the apartments are designed to maximize space and functionality, with clever storage solutions and multi-purpose areas. Natural light floods the spaces, and the use of sustainable materials like recycled timber and concrete further enhances the building's environmental credentials. One of the key features of the Commons is its shared facilities, which include a laundry, bike storage, and a car share program. This not only reduces the carbon footprint of the development but also encourages a sense of community and collaboration amongst the residents. The building's unique design also promotes social interaction and engagement. The layout of the apartments encourages residents to interact and form connections, while the communal areas facilitate social gatherings and events. The rooftop garden, in particular, is a popular space for residents to relax and enjoy the stunning city views. Overall, the Commons is a prime example of socially responsible architecture that prioritizes people and the environment over profit. Its unique combination of the Bauruppen model, sustainable design and community-focused approach has made it a model for other similar developments both in Australia and around the world. As with any architectural project, the Commons has both its strengths and weaknesses compared to other social housing programs across the world. One of the main strengths of the Commons is its focus on community and sustainability, which sets it apart from many other social housing projects that prioritize cost savings and utilitarian design. The project's use of natural materials and focus on passive energy systems also demonstrate a commitment to environmentally conscious design. However, the Commons is not without its limitations. The project is relatively small, with only 24 units, which limits its impact in addressing the wider issue of affordable housing in Melbourne. Additionally, while the project does provide affordable housing, it is still relatively expensive compared to some other social housing programs in cities like Vienna, which offer affordable housing to a much larger percentage of the population. Another criticism of the Commons is that it still caters to a relatively privileged demographic, as it is only accessible to people with a certain level of income and financial stability. This can be contrasted with social housing programs in other countries, such as the Netherlands, which are available to people across a wider range of income brackets and offer more comprehensive social services and support. In conjunction with philanthropic housing, similar issues present themselves within the social housing area, attempting to combat the impacts on the quality of life of its occupants. In recent years, some architects have sought to revive these original ideas in conjunction with modernized concepts, focusing on creating functional, affordable, and sustainable living spaces. The following project is an example of clear consideration to the user and the environments around them. Ann Street Garden Villas, AOG Architects. A social housing concept comparing to the Australian dream. The living conditions during the Industrial Revolution throughout the 19th century was the wake-up call for the governments to provide affordable and hygienic housing for the working class. Many social housing developments during the 19th century focused on creating environments for the residents that emphasized the idea of the utopia. The concept of utopia lends itself to the perfect condition or the ideal city. During the 19th century, architects such as Robert Owens and Henry Roberts developed one of the earliest examples of social housing that aimed to create this perfect condition. In our current Australian society, a derivative of this utopian concept relates to the Australian dream, defined as owning a comfortable and spacious home, accommodating a comfortable and quality lifestyle. In 2021, Anna O'Gorman, AOG, Architects completed 7 social housing units in Southport on the Gold Coast of Australia, in conjunction with the Housing Partnerships Office, Building Asset Services, and the Office of the Queensland Government Architect. As an entry to the Density and Diversity Done Well Open Idea competition, the Ann Street Garden Villas were developed with a clear concept and objective from its inception. The main objective of this project was to produce an example of social housing that proved to be a livable, human-orientated design that provided a successful alternative to the norm with the intention of informing future design guidelines. Throughout the design process, key strategic points such as community interaction, amenity and security, climate, and pedestrian activity were incorporated. The Density and Diversity Done Well competitions was established on the foundation of developing social and affordable housing and challenging convention, making it the perfect platform to produce social housing conditions that are innovative and effective. AOG Architects underwent vigorous research and consultation with social housing residences in order to understand exactly who they were designing for. Through this investigation they found that access to nature and garden, natural light and ventilation to all rooms, safety and security, connection with people to help feelings of isolation and adequate privacy to private areas were the main contributing factors to producing a successful design under the competition brief. This investigation and research are steps in the planning and design process that rarely occurs throughout other developments, resulting in designs that do not fit its users. It is clear that the models of social housing currently being developed throughout Australia have deviated from the ideology surrounding social housing at the time of its inception. The concept of utopia is no longer a defining element throughout the design process. Low-income families that require social housing are subject to the conditions provided to them, and in our current economy, this is not reflective of the Australian dream or ideal living environments. As a result, housing that is restrictive and does not support its occupants' well-being is produced. The current condition of social housing lends itself to conditions that are badly ventilated, cramped, and rigid with little to no natural light, developing a stigma attached to crime and negativity. These kinds of environments have proven to do nothing to aid occupants' well-being and quality of life. The concept of designing spaces